So one of the most important keys in your career search is understanding what are your strengths. And there's so many ways to do it. We've got personality profiles, we've got strength assessments, all kinds of tools out there to figure out what are those things you're really good at. And now I'm going to say something that's probably going to shock you, but just as important as understanding your strengths is understanding your weaknesses. And why do I say that? Well, one of the main reasons is if you don't know what your weaknesses are, they can become a stumbling block and stop you from bringing out your strengths and your gifts. And I'm going to tell you a true story about a friend of mine. Now, I grew up with her, and she was an amazing piano player. She took lessons throughout her whole life, and when she became an adult and had to choose a career, I said, oh my gosh, Ann, you've got to go into music or something. You're so talented. However, she struggled with shyness and low self-esteem. And so she was like, I can't go out there in front of people and play. And so guess what? She just kept piano as a hobby, and she never really came out to the world to share this gift. And so that's what happens when you don't understand your weaknesses and begin to work with them. Now, another reason it's super important to understand your weaknesses is because your weakness can become your greatest strength, your greatest gift. Now, we've all heard stories of how people have overcome these amazing feats. And it's because it was a challenge that they had to work hard to overcome. And then they can help other people who have that same challenge. It's like a gift because they've been there, they understand it, and they can help other people. They become this inspiration. Another important key in your career building is understanding relationships. And you know, we've all heard that expression, oh, it's who you know, not what you know. And some people say, oh, that's only for Hollywood, right? No, wrong. Relationship building is important in any kind of career that you are looking at. A lot of times it's in the beginning when you just need to find a job. Sometimes it's who you know. I mean, look at LinkedIn. It's a whole search engine just designed to link up people and help people find careers. I can't tell you how many friends of mine have found the perfect job based on somebody they knew through LinkedIn. All right? Now, it's not just getting the job, but it's staying in the job and moving up the ladder. Relationship skills are key for that, because if you don't move up the ladder, you're never going to get anywhere. And how do you do that? It's through relationship building and having good relationships with everybody that you work with. And people skills is so important because you build bridges, and you never know when one day you can help somebody else out and somebody else can help you out. And I'm just going to tell you a short story of an interesting connection that really helped me out recently. So my daughter, a little while ago, really wanted to go to the mall. And I had a million things to do, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to have to take time out of my day and drive you to the mall. But I went ahead and did it. And when I dropped her off, I thought, well, you know, since I'm already here, I'm going to stop in and say hi to my friend that works at a particular store there. Now, she was really just an acquaintance. I really didn't get together with her a lot. But we knew each other, and we would talk every time I came to the mall. So she was working that day, and as it turned out, there weren't a lot of customers. So we got into a conversation, and she mentioned that she was going to be visiting her daughter. And I said, oh, where does she live? And she said, oh, she lives in Los Angeles. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. What does she do? And she proceeds to tell me that her daughter works at Lionsgate Entertainment. Now, my eyes lit up at that point because one of my side passions has been writing my whole life. I've written several books and gotten them published, but I've also been writing screenplays. Now, screenplays are a lot more difficult to sell than a book. And so I've been struggling with that. How do I get my foot in the door to sell the screenplay? So we continued the conversation, and I told her, well, hey, you know, I have this script that I've been wanting to sell, and, you know, do you think maybe, and so forth, if I gave it to your daughter? She says, oh, sure. I'm going to see my daughter, give me the script, I'll pass it on to her. So because of that connection with this woman that I had fostered over a couple years, now my script is in the hands of somebody who works at Lionsgate Entertainment. I don't know where it's going to go, but that's just an example of the importance of relationship building. Now, a lot of times on the career search, we get seduced into a particular career because we see somebody else doing it, and it looks so easy. Now, I know when I was growing up, I used to watch the TV shows where you'd have the painter on, and he was doing this beautiful picture, and it looked so easy. So I'd go and run and get my paintbrush, and I'd start painting on my paper, and, you know, of course, it didn't look anything like the artist's work on the television. You would have thought I would have learned my lesson from that. But I didn't. So later on in life, I got hooked on those house remodeling shows, especially Fixer Upper. I used to love watching Chip and Joanna, and it looked so easy. They'd go into these, you know, dumps, and they'd fix them up. They'd bring in their crew, and it looked so easy. And I thought, you know what? I can do that. And so I got fixated on this idea that, it, you know, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. It looks so easy. So I ended up buying this broken down trailer. And of course, I had no skills, by the way, in any kind of, you know, construction business at all. So I had to hire somebody, and basically from start to finish, it was a disaster. And I think I got out of that whole project just breaking even, but the stress surely was not worth it. So I really learned a lesson that when somebody else makes it look easy, doesn't mean it's going to be easy for you. And the reason it looks easy for somebody else is because it really is their passion, and they really have skills and talents in that area. So, you know, don't get hooked on somebody else's dream. Follow your own passion. And now, really, Chip did not start out this big TV mogul. He spent many years preparing and working up to that. I read that, you know, when he was in college is when he actually started doing some renovation and construction work. And so life really is about stepping stones. And don't be afraid to take that first step while keeping the big picture in mind. And even if that first step isn't your ideal, if you keep the big picture in mind, it's going to lead you there, I promise you. So I'm going to tell you a story about that. So when I was out of college, I had gone overseas and learned Spanish and did some teaching and realized that that was a really exciting area that I wanted to go into. And I wanted to become a bilingual teacher. Now, at that point, though, I realized I was going to have to go back to college for at least a whole year, and then I was going to have to do another year of student teaching that wasn't going to be paid, and I thought, how am I going to afford to do this, right? But I knew that those were the steps that were out there that I needed to take to be a teacher. So I decided to go ahead and take that first step, and I went to the University of San Diego to their orientation to listen to what they had to say. And of course, they said it everything that I thought. You know, you have to do a year of studies, then you're gonna have to do your student teaching. But during one of the breaks, I heard these two girls behind me talking about this alternative teaching program. It was for people who had already had their bachelor's and who happened to be fluent in Spanish. And I said, oh my gosh, what's the name of this program? So I got the details, I went home, I checked it out, I applied, and I got accepted. And it turned out to be absolutely amazing because I fell into this position where I got to start off teaching immediately. I was paid for my teaching, and I was allowed to take classes at night that were completely paid for by the city of San Diego. And it all happened because I was willing to take that first step. Even though it wasn't my ideal, it quickly led to my big picture of what I wanted. So I want to conclude by saying that the safest thing you can do in your career search is follow your inner passion, follow your heart. Because if you follow the herd, chances are you're going to get trampled in a stampede.